The air inside the courtroom was thick with tension, a silence broken only by the scratch of pens across paper and the occasional cough from the gallery. Dusty rays of sunlight filtered in through tall windows, catching on the polished wood of the judge's bench and the worn uniforms of the guards. For most present, this was just another hearing, one more case among hundreds that filled the docket each year. But for the man standing at the center of the room, this moment was everything. He was a tall black man in his mid-30s, his prison jumpsuit neatly pressed as if he had taken extra care to prepare for this day. Shackles clinked faintly with each movement, a sound that seemed to echo louder than it should have in the silent chamber. His face was calm, but his eyes betrayed something more, an odd mixture of fear, hope, and determination. This was not the first time he had stood before a judge, but this time felt different. He was not here to plead for freedom or beg for leniency. He had come with a request so unusual, so human, that those who heard it would never forget. The bailiff called the session to order, and the judge, a gray-haired man with lines of both sternness and wisdom etched into his face, looked down from the bench. His gavel rested lightly in his hand, but it was not needed, the entire room was already silent. The defense attorney glanced at his client, then at the judge, unsure of how to begin. But before he could speak, the prisoner cleared his throat. "Your Honor," he said softly, his voice carrying through the courtroom with surprising strength, "I have a request." Every head turned. Normally, it was the lawyers who did the talking, not the accused. But something in his tone, calm, respectful, unshaken, kept the judge from silencing him immediately. The judge leaned forward slightly. "You may speak," the judge said, his voice measured. The prisoner nodded once, as though summoning courage. "I know why I am here. I know the mistakes I've made. And I accept whatever judgment you see fit to pass. But before that, I have one wish. A simple one." The room shifted. Reporters scribbled in notepads. A few people in the gallery leaned closer, curiosity written on their faces. Even the guards, trained to stand like statues, stole quick glances at one another. The man drew in a slow breath. His hands, cuffed in front of him, trembled ever so slightly. "I don't ask for freedom. I don't ask for forgiveness. What I ask," his voice faltered, and he closed his eyes for a moment before continuing. "What I ask is for a chance to show my mother that I am still her son. That I still remember what she taught me, that kindness matters, even when the world is cruel." A hush fell deeper over the courtroom. The judge's brow furrowed. "What exactly are you requesting?" The prisoner swallowed, his throat tight. "Your Honor, I would like, just once, to hug my mother without chains between us. No shackles, no guards pulling me away. Just one honest embrace, so she can know that despite where I've ended up, her son is still human." For a long moment, no one moved. The words hung in the air like a fragile piece of glass, threatening to shatter if anyone dared speak too soon. The defense attorney lowered his gaze, suddenly blinking away tears. The prosecutor shifted uncomfortably, caught off guard by the raw humanity of the plea. Even those in the gallery, some there out of duty, others merely out of curiosity, felt their throats tighten. The judge said nothing at first. His hands rested on the bench, fingers steepled, as his eyes studied the man before him. The silence grew so heavy that it seemed the very walls were listening. The prisoner did not break eye contact. He stood tall, though his hands still trembled. He had nothing left to lose, but in this moment, his request gave him something invaluable, dignity. Finally, the judge leaned back slightly, his chair creaking. "That is, not a common request," he said slowly. "No, sir," the prisoner replied, his voice steady now. "But it is the only one I have." In the back row of the gallery, an older woman dabbed at her eyes with a handkerchief. She was dressed plainly, but her presence radiated quiet strength. She was the prisoner's mother, the woman he spoke of, the anchor in his storm. Her hands clutched her lap tightly, knuckles white as she struggled to hold herself together. All eyes began to shift toward her. She tried to remain composed, but tears slid freely down her cheeks. In that moment, no one saw her as just the mother of a convict. She was every mother who had ever prayed for her child, every parent who had ever held on to hope when the world offered none. The silence deepened. The judge's gaze softened ever so slightly as he looked from the prisoner to his mother. His gavel lay untouched. His voice, when it came, was low but carried to every corner of the room. "You ask for compassion," he said. "And compassion is not a thing courts are designed to grant. But sometimes, justice must make space for mercy." A ripple of emotion spread through the courtroom. Lawyers paused their scribbling. Guards straightened but did not move. The prisoner's eyes glistened, though he refused to let tears fall. He had lived too long behind walls to show weakness, yet here, surrounded by strangers, his vulnerability was his strength. The judge did not speak again right away. He seemed to weigh not only the law but the spirit of it, the balance between order and humanity. His fingers tapped lightly against the bench, the sound like a ticking clock marking the passage of a moment that felt eternal. The prisoner waited, every heartbeat pounding in his ears. The gallery waited, breath held tight in collective anticipation. The courtroom, usually a place of cold procedure, now felt like the stage of something far greater. And then, the judge set down his pen, folded his hands, and allowed silence to stretch a little longer. The request hung there, fragile, powerful, and impossible to ignore. Whatever his decision, the moment had already left its mark.